Welcome to our channel today. We're here to look over an amazing game between the chess legend Magnus Carlsen and the teenager. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon to never miss an update from us. Magnus Carlsen arguably is the best chess player of all time after winning World Rapid Championships in 2014, 2015, and 2019. He was looking to get his fourth title after defeating Ali Razov-Yaruza and Jean-Christophe Duda. He was the crowd's favorite for winning the tournament. He was standing at the top of the leaderboard with 7.5 points out of 9 games, while having 6 wins and 3 draws, and hadn't lost the game yet. But this was about to change. The young prodigy from Uzbekistan Nordirbek Abdulsattorov became a Grand Master, which is the highest title in chess at the age of just 13. And he was also in the second position on the leaderboard for the tournament, with 7 points out of 9 games. He had also defeated Fabiano Caruana and Levan Aronian, and was destroying all of his opponents, as Nordirbek was the young superstar. Magnus was one of the biggest chess prodigies in the history of the game. He also became a Grand Master at 13 years and was the youngest chess player to reach 2800. So you guys can understand how big of an achievement this is. There have been only 14 players ever to surpass the rating. Both of them were about to face each other in round 10 of the World Rapid Chess Championship 2021 when the game started. Nordirbek had the white pieces, and he opens with pawn to c4, which is the English opening that is considered the modern way of handling the opening phase of the game. It is a flank opening as it starts with a side pawn, rather than the central E or D pawns. Magnus thinks for a bit for the first move of the game, and plays knight f6, and after several moves it goes to the 4-knight variation of the English opening. Magnus then tried to pin Nordirbek's knight on c3 by playing bishop b4. After playing some more developing moves, Nordirbek attacks Magnus's bishop on b6 by playing knight on a4. Magnus then pins Nordirbek's knight on f3 to the queen, and then Nordirbek happily trades the bishop for the knight at b6. Nordirbek then phi and shadow this dark square bishop on b2, from which his bishop can see the long diagonal on which Magnus happily traded his other bishop at f3 for Nordirbek's knight. Now Magnus has 2 knights, and Nordirbek has 2 bishops in a longer time format. Bishops are considered better than the knight for open files, but in a shorter time format like a blitz game, knights are considered more advantages as they move in an L shape from which your opponent can easily miss a fork of 2 pieces in a time scramble. Magnus then offers an order. Beka queen trade, on which Nordirbek thinks for a moment and declines as Magnus is considered the goat of endgames. Magnus then reroutes his knights at e6, and Nordirbek just castles kingside after seeing this. Magnus starts attacking him on that side of the board and played g5 then h5, on which Nordirbek trades his light square bishop for a white knight at e6, and then he starts attacking him on the queen side. Then Magnus retreats his knight. Nordirbek played f4 to start opening up the position. A few moves later, Magnus offered another queen trade by playing queen g4, from where Nordirbek played queen f3, which is basically like Magnus saying, if you really want to trade the queen, then we will trade at my condition and not yours. After this move, Magnus picked up a pawn and started playing with it, which is a common notion for chess players when they are deep in their calculations. After a rope trade, Nordirbek has gotten his pawn on g6. After some moves, both of them simply traded their rooks and g and h pawns. Now Nordirbek has a passed h pawn, and it will be very difficult for Magnus to stop that pawn. Magnus now seemed a bit frustrated as he is now also down 2 minutes on the clock. Magnus's chance of winning now seemed a lot slimmer. When Nordirbek started pushing the pawn after a few moves, Nordirbek has to trade as bishop for the knight at g5 as it's forced because of the king and queen. Fork Nordirbek started checking Magnus's king to reroute his queen g7, so he can now offer the queen trade himself, which Magnus offered 2 times in the game. But the difference is if Magnus trades, he will lose the pawn endgame, as Nordirbek pawn is closer to promotion. Magnus knows this, and gave a check to Nordirbek's king by playing queen e3. After some moves, Nordirbek moved his pawn to h7, and only one more move left for promotion. Magnus started checking the king to see if Nordirbek makes a mistake, but he played perfectly, and now Magnus's queen is at h8, blocking the promotion square of the pawn. Then Nordirbek starts checking Magnus's king to see if Magnus makes a mistake with just 1 second left on the clock. Magnus played his pawn to b4, and missed the sequence of moves which blundered the game, and Nordirbek finds it. Magnus misses the fork of his king and queen, and then he resigns the game because after the trade Nordirbek will make a new queen and go on to win the game. This game destroyed the chances of Magnus winning the tournament,